Sea levels are rising, glaciers are melting, and the impacts of climate change are becoming impossible to ignore. Some of the most stunning islands on our planet, home to unique ecosystems and vibrant cultures, are at risk of disappearing forever. These aren't just vacation spots, they're entire worlds that are being swallowed by the sea. Today, we'll explore 10 islands that might not survive the future, backed by real data and predictions. 1. Maldives, a country fighting against time. The Maldives is a tropical paradise, famous for its turquoise waters and luxurious resorts. But there's a harsh truth behind the beauty. This island nation is the lowest lying country on Earth. With an average elevation of just 1.5 meters above sea level, the Maldives is incredibly vulnerable to rising seas. Over the years, the country has faced increasing coastal erosion, flooding, and saltwater intrusion. Coral reefs, which serve as natural shields against waves, are dying due to warming oceans and pollution. Without these reefs, the islands are defenseless against the rising tides. The government of the Maldives is working on solutions, from building floating islands to relocating citizens. Despite their efforts, scientists warn that by 2050, many islands may no longer be livable, and by 2100, the entire country could disappear underwater. 2. Kiribati, a nation at the brink. Kiribati, a collection of 33 atolls and islands in the Pacific Ocean, is another country grappling with the reality of rising seas. It's not just the land that's disappearing. Salt water is contaminating their freshwater supplies, killing crops, and making life increasingly difficult for its 120,000 residents. The government has taken proactive steps, like purchasing land in Fiji to prepare for the eventual relocation of its population. Entire villages have already been abandoned as the ocean creeps further inland. Floods are becoming more frequent, forcing people to rebuild their homes every year. Experts predict that by 2050, most of Kiribati will become uninhabitable due to flooding and resource scarcity. While there's some hope that climate action could slow this process, the clock is ticking for this island nation. 3. Tuvalu, a tiny nation. Under threat, Tuvalu is a small Pacific island nation of just 9 islands, but it's on the front lines of climate change. With an average elevation of 2 meters above sea level, even small rises in the ocean can have devastating effects. Coastal erosion is shrinking the islands, saltwater intrusion is destroying crops, and flooding during king tides is becoming more frequent. The people of Tuvalu are trying to adapt, but there's only so much they can do. Many have already started migrating to nearby countries like New Zealand through special climate relocation programs. Experts predict that Tuvalu could become uninhabitable by 2050. By 2080, most of the islands might be completely submerged. 4. Seychelles, paradise at risk. The Seychelles, an archipelago in the Indian Ocean, is famous for its pristine beaches and unique biodiversity. But this paradise is under serious threat. Rising sea levels and coastal erosion are slowly eating away at its beaches. Some smaller islands have already lost significant portions of their landmass. The Seychelles isn't just losing its beauty, it's also losing its ability to support marine life. Coral reefs, which play a critical role in the ecosystem, are dying due to warming oceans. Scientists believe that parts of the Seychelles could become uninhabitable by the middle of the century. 5. Solomon Islands, disappearing one by one. The Solomon Islands in the Pacific Ocean have already started vanishing. Over the past 2 decades, at least 5 of the islands have disappeared entirely, swallowed by the ocean. Rising sea levels combined with stronger storm surges are accelerating the loss of land. For the people living on these islands, the challenges are mounting. Salt water is contaminating their crops and water supplies, and homes are being destroyed by flooding. Scientists predict that by 2100, most of the Solomon Islands could be underwater. 6. Marshall Islands, a cultural haven at risk. The Marshall Islands, a chain of 29 atolls in the Pacific Ocean, is not just losing land, it's losing history. These islands are home to thousands of years of cultural heritage, unique traditions, and vibrant communities. But rising sea levels are threatening everything. The ocean isn't just creeping in, it's also contaminating freshwater supplies and farmland with salt water. This makes it almost impossible for locals to grow crops or sustain themselves. On top of that, the islands face an increasing number of typhoons, which bring destructive floods that wipe out homes and infrastructure. Experts predict that by 2050, most of the Marshall Islands will become uninhabitable due to a lack of resources and frequent flooding. And by 2100, many of these islands could be completely submerged, leaving behind only memories of this once thriving paradise. 7. Vanuatu, a dual threat. Vanuatu, located in the South Pacific, faces a deadly combination of rising seas and natural disasters. The islands are already being battered by stronger cyclones, rising ocean levels, and even active volcanoes. Coastal erosion is eating away at the island's shores, and saltwater intrusion is destroying crops and contaminating water sources. What makes Vanuatu's situation even more dire is its location. The islands are in one of the most tectonically active regions of the world, meaning earthquakes and tsunamis are an additional threat. Entire communities have been forced to relocate inland, but there's only so much space and time left. By 2050, many parts of Vanuatu could become uninhabitable due to constant flooding and resource scarcity. The people here are resilient, but even their strength may not be enough to combat the forces of nature working against them. 8. Fiji, losing the outer islands. Fiji is famous for its stunning beaches, vibrant culture, and lush landscapes, but not all its islands are equally safe. While the main islands of Fiji have higher elevations, the smaller outer islands are at significant risk. Rising sea levels are causing these low-lying islands to flood more frequently, and some are already losing land to erosion. Coastal communities on these islands are being forced to move inland or relocate entirely. Villages have been abandoned, and traditions tied to these lands are being lost. The Fijian government is proactive, implementing policies to help people adapt, but they can only do so much as the sea continues to rise. Scientists estimate that by 2080, many of Fiji's smaller islands could be completely submerged, leaving behind a fragmented nation. 9. Bahamas, paradise in peril. The Bahamas, a chain of over 700 islands in the Atlantic Ocean, is a true paradise. Known for its turquoise waters, white sandy beaches, and vibrant marine life, it's a favorite destination for tourists. But this paradise is facing an uncertain future. Rising sea levels are slowly submerging low-lying areas, while stronger and more frequent hurricanes are causing widespread destruction. Coastal erosion is accelerating, and some smaller islands are experiencing near-permanent flooding. In fact, some residents of the Bahamas are already being forced to relocate to higher ground. Experts warn that by the end of the century, significant parts of the Bahamas could be underwater. The combination of rising seas and stronger storms is making survival increasingly difficult for this island nation. 10. Papua New Guinea, a cultural and ecological loss. Papua New Guinea is known for its stunning biodiversity and rich cultural heritage. With hundreds of unique languages spoken and countless species of plants and animals found nowhere else on Earth, it's a treasure trove of life. But its coastal and low-lying islands are under severe threat from rising sea levels. Many small island communities in Papua New Guinea have already started relocating as their homes are flooded or eroded. Saltwater intrusion is damaging farmland, making it harder for people to grow food. This isn't just a crisis for the environment, it's a cultural crisis too, as entire communities are forced to leave behind ancestral lands that have been part of their identity for generations. By 2050, many of these islands could become uninhabitable. If climate change continues unchecked, much of the region could face complete submersion by the end of the century. And that's it for today's journey through disappearing islands. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends. Subscribe to Natural Facts for more amazing stories about our incredible planet. Until next time, let's keep exploring, learning, and protecting the world we call home.